has been an issue for an extremely long time. Supposedly, we're at the end of the entire planning, and now we're at the actual implementation process. I myself would love this to be done because I think everybody but one person needs to hook up on the Old Farm board, so we're just as interested in this as you. Lindsay?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Lindsey Cromsight. I'm in the Engineering and Infrastructure Planning Department, and I'm the Septic to Sewer Program Manager. And I got this position back in May, so many of you may be familiar with Susanna, and I've since taken that over. And we're actually going to talk about two separate things tonight. First is going to be the program in general and how that application process works, and kind of go over some future projects that we do have planned. And then we're going to talk specifically about the Desert Woods and Neighborhood Extension project, which is designed and scheduled to go to construction this winter. So to provide a brief background, 2017, we completed the Southeast Interceptor, and that's on this map. This is Kings Forest area, and that red line shows you where the Southeast Interceptor went through that area. And that was really the first hurdle we had to overcome to provide capacity to the southeast part of Bend. In June 2017, we put together a committee to understand what we needed to do to get sewer mains and sewer stub outs, which is just the piece of pipe that goes from the main to the property line. What were we gonna have to do to get them down all of these residential streets now? So we put a committee together, and they were tasked with design and understanding how we were gonna pay for that. And the biggest driver that we had to overcome was the 300-foot rule, which, if you're not familiar, that was saying if you were on a house with an existing septic system and you were within 300 feet of a sewer main, and then your septic system failed or needed repair or you wanted to do some development, you were required to extend the sewer main to your property to then connect to sewer, which obviously is very expensive for some people. It put some people in really bad situations that couldn't afford it, couldn't sell their house because their septic system was failing. So we really needed to overcome this big hurdle, and how we did that was to work with DEQ to redefine what legally available sewer meant. And I'm gonna get into that a little bit more later. So July 2018, the committee presented their recommendations to council, and they determined that it would take about $30 million to put sewer mains and services to all these homes in just this Kings Forest area. This is about 503 lots. The majority of them, the septic systems were over 25 years old, and about 70 of them were in that buffer zone that's shown in the lighter red. I don't know if you can see it back there, but all of those people were now within 300 feet, so they were up against that rule, and if their septic tank failed, they would have had to extend the sewer. So we knew we didn't want to do a piecemeal solution. We wanted to get a regional solution for the whole Kings Forest area. And so the committee really came back with a recommendation to say, let's cap it at $25,000 per private property owner, and that included the public, $18,000 for public main, and $7,000 for the private on-site costs. And then they also said, whatever we determine for this Kings Forest area, let's implement it citywide, because this isn't the only area in the city that this is an issue. We need to address, there's about 2,800 septic systems citywide, so whatever we do here, let's figure it out for the rest of the public. I'm sorry, can you go back? So August 2018, many of you might have attended some of these listening sessions council held, and they were heavily attended, and a lot of the public adamantly opposed that recommendation that the committee put forth. So council heard and changed the approach, and then adopted the program that we have in place now, and I'm going to go into the details of what we actually implemented. So again, it's not what the committee recommended. We went a different direction, and if you go to the next slide, I'll talk about those details. So the program we have in place now, this has been in place since February 1st of this year, so it's been in place for about 8 months. We do not allow any new septic systems, so this is in the code that we have now. So no new septic systems are permitted, and that means basically on a vacant parcel. That's not talking about replacing an existing system. We're saying if you're starting from scratch, we won't let you put a new one in. The second thing we did with this code was to remove that 300-foot rule. And again, we worked with DEQ to redefine what legally available sewer meant, and that now means it's only available if it's at your property frontage, and that you're able to make a connection to it to start discharging to. And another piece of this is that now we can repair septic systems if you're not adjacent to a sewer main. So if you're 10 feet away from a sewer main or 3,000 feet away from the sewer main, you can fix your septic system as long as it's not adjacent to your property. And there is another trigger if you were able to connect, and I will get into those requirements to connect on the next slide. The other major effort for establishing the program was to create neighborhood extension projects, and that's just a fancy term for the construction projects that we will fund and construct through this program. And that's an application process, so we will not voluntarily put sewer down your road. We have to receive an application from you and your neighbors to prioritize these sewer projects, and again, I'll go into more detail about that. But the program gives about $2.5 million annually, so we are limited in which ones we can do. So it's a little bit of a competitive process. And again, we only have $2.5 million per year to fund these. So we do recoup a little bit of the costs by requiring a connection fee, and I'll go into what those costs are. And then the other major effort of the program is to combine these sewer projects with other city plan projects, because we can save on construction costs if we package them together and kind of piggyback on other areas that are being improved around the city. It helps us as a city to plan it quicker, more efficiently, and to save money doing it that way. So when are you required to connect if you're on a septic system? Connection is always voluntary unless one of these three situations occurs. The first one is if a sewer main is adjacent to your property frontage, again, if it's legally available, and then your septic system fails or needs repair, we would say, no, you can't fix it now because you have a sewer main right there, you need to connect to it. The second situation is if you, regardless of the distance to a sewer main, whether it's at the frontage or 100 feet away or 1,000 feet away, the way the code reads right now, if you want to do development to your property to a certain level, and right now we interpret that as hitting minimum development standards or MDS review by our development code or higher, if you want to do that level of development, then you have to connect to public sewer, and that could mean that you have to extend it by yourself, with your private dollars, or you have to apply to the program and have the city help you get that project going. And to give you some examples of what that type of level of development is, it's doing a partition, subdividing your property, adding an ADU, or changing from a single-family home to a duplex, and even some expansions or additions to your house. So if you remodel up to 50% of your existing square footage, that would trigger it as well. And the third situation where you would have to be connected to public sewer is if you sign the application that gets selected for funding. So if you could go to the next slide, I'll talk about the application process. This is how we get those applications to get those sewer projects going. So again, we have to receive an application from you to get these on the list. So this kind of just goes over the process that you as a homeowner would go through to get that going. First, you have to meet with me to kind of outline what does the project look like for you and your neighbors, and make sure it's a feasible project that we can hopefully install for you in the near future. So you as an applicant would go door to door, collect signatures, and some of you in this room may have already done this for a project that's already been selected, or maybe you're working on it right now. And then applications are due February 1st annually, so our next round is due February 1st, 2020. And the reason I want to bring that up now is because it takes a while to get these applications together. It takes a lot of door-to-door effort, and you really want to leave yourself a lot of time to do this, because people aren't home until 5, and you can maybe make it to a few houses after work, but it takes a long time to work your way up and down these corridors. So if you're thinking about applying, it's important to start planning now, and I really urge you to come talk to me, and I can help you get some materials out to your neighbors and help you strategize on how to get those signatures. Then, once the applications are due, we have a committee select which applications we can fund, because again, we don't have unlimited dollars, we can't select all of them, but we will rank them against a certain criteria, and then a little bit rank them against each other to see which one makes the most sense. And we will design and construct the project. Upon completion, we will send everybody on the alignment a letter called the Notice of Operational Completion. And that's just your notification that the sewer main's active now, you can discharge to it, and it will explain some cost benefits for connecting sooner. then obviously the last step would be to connect to sewer. Go to the next slide, please. So this is the criteria that we rank the applications on. So the first is the cost of the project, including design and construction. How many properties will connect to it? How many people could benefit from it? Are there any city plan projects nearby that we can piggyback off of? What's the percentage of people who signed it? And what's important to know about this one is that it does not need to be 100%, 50%. There's no set percentage of people who need to sign. But again, the more support you have, the better your application will look and the more likely it will be to be selected over another one that has less support. And then the age and condition of septic systems along the alignment. So if anybody's on a failing system, or if they're on a drill hole, or something that we would want to get offline sooner, we would definitely want to know that. And then other factors as established by the city manager. So these are the costs to connect, and it's kind of in two buckets right now. So I'm going to talk about the Southeast Interceptor folks first. So anybody who has received a stub out from Southeast Interceptor, can you raise your hand if you're on Southeast Interceptor and you know? Okay. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it because you're not in this room. So we're just going to talk about the neighborhood extension projects, and that's this Desert Woods construction project that's about to come forward in winter, and every project going in the future. So the connection fee, which if you can read, if you connect within 2 years from when the main goes active and we send you that letter in the mail, you will get a 50% discount on the connection fee, which is currently $8,500. And I say currently because our fees always go up every year. It's adjusted for inflation, so you can anticipate about 1 to 3% adjustment each year. So again, if you wait till after 2 years from when the main goes live, you'll have to pay the full fee, the $8,500. You'll have to pay your system development charge regardless of any time you connect. You will not get a discount on that fee. And then you'll have to pay your private costs, and that really is the biggest variable here. So you have to pay to have a plumber or excavator decommission your septic tank, and then make plumb the line from the house to the property line. And you can imagine this is where it's going to be so variable because maybe someone's house is only 20 feet away from the property line, and then someone else's house is 200 feet away from the property line. It can become different very quickly, and you can run into rock on your property. So if you are on the Desert Woods and Neighborhood Extension Project alignment and you know you're about to get a sewer service, now is the time to be talking to a plumber or excavator to make sure that first that we have your stub out in the right place, because we want to make sure we want to put it in a place that's going to work for you, so that you don't have to, rip up a porch that you don't want to touch, or maybe you don't want to go on this side of your driveway, you want to go on this side. We definitely want to work with you and make sure we get that in the ideal spot for each home. So please, if you have any questions about that, please let me know and we can try to help you there. So what we're looking at here for total costs, about $9,000 plus your private costs if you connect within 2 years, and about $1,300 plus your private costs if you connect after 2 years.
1,000?
You
said
Oh.
1,300.
Oh, yeah, 13,000, sorry about that. Okay, so this, we're gonna talk about the Desert Woods construction project now. So just to kind of wrap up again, the program-wide things, if you're not on the Desert Woods alignment and you're interested in getting sewer on your street, again, we do not have plans to install them on King David or King Jeroboam or Admiral. We don't have plans to do that right now because we have not received applications, and that's a lot of the phone calls that I get, so I just want to make it clear, we need people to submit applications to plan those future alignments. So now we're just going to talk about the Desert Wood projects, specifically the construction project that's going to happen this winter, beginning this winter. So if you don't mind hitting once. This green line, this is the Southeast Interceptor that's already existing. It's over on Orion Drive, and to orient yourself, if you're not oriented, 15th Street's there going north-south. Reed Market would be up there, it's cut off here. King Hezekiah's down here. And the alignment's shown in dark black here, but we're gonna have it highlighted as we talk about each specific segment here. So if you hit the, this is a real-time sequence of how the project's gonna go. So we're gonna start in this general direction on Desert Woods Drive, complete King Hezekiah Way, continue to work down Desert Woods, all the way to 15th, and at the same time work on King Solomon. Start on 15th, work in 2 directions, and then as well as go into Nottingham Square, King Richard, finish up 15th, and then start to head down Hollis Lane towards the pump station, as well as on Greenmont, finish up on Greenmont, and overall, we have about 16 segments. And so I just wanted to provide that brief overview, and I'm going to pass it off to Justin Varden. He's actually with Taylor Northwest. They're the contractor we selected to do this project. And so some of you may know him from the Southeast Interceptor project, and so I'm going to pass it off to him because he's going to know all the specifics about construction, and he can answer those sequencing questions for you.
Thank you, Lindsay. As Lindsay said, I'm the lead estimator for Taylor Northwest. We brought the project manager on the site, Casey Hill. He's built the last 8 segments of the Southeast Interceptor all the way through to the hospital and back and down and back. So I've definitely estimated every one of those, and sequencing is very important. So as you can see, as we talk through these phases, Taylor Northwest is really ramped up. We've got 3 crews available for this project, and we want to really put the boots to it and get it out of your guys' way. We know how much of an impact this is to you guys. We feel like we have a great team put together to take this on. Just to go back briefly over this schedule, as you've seen as it progressed through, is that we're going to start off with 2 crews. One crew is going to start here at Desert Woods, connecting in, moving to the west. The second crew will start here on King Hezekiah. As they move forward, crew 1 will keep continuing on, and then crew 2 will actually leapfrog in front of them until they get to 15th Street. Once we get to 15th Street, it's kind of a 2-directional deal here. Crew 2 is actually going to work its way to the south down 15th and down into King Richard and take this pump station offline. We will be connecting these existing services down in King Richard to the system, and this first crew will be going back to the north. About mid-August, we're going to start a 3rd crew just south of Twin Lakes Loop, and it'll actually move to the north. So we're trying to expedite what we do on the 15th. We already know everybody doesn't like the traffic control we have now, so we might as well try to get it done as fast as possible. So it'll be similar traffic control to what you're seeing now. It'll be one-way north for right now, and we'll flip traffic on both sides. So once we complete one side, we'll flip the traffic and go to the opposite side of that lead page, and we'll keep going north. Now, if we can public-private partnership and we can work with you folks to find a better solution to that, maybe shorter duration of construction, maybe shut 15th Street down for duration to get it done faster. That's what we're here to do, is partner with you guys and you folks to understand what your guys' needs are. Maybe we can get it done faster. So back to the schedule. After we complete this portion, we're going to still keep 3 crews. We're going to start right back down here on Greenmont and try to really blow this thing out. And 1 crew, 2 crew, and 3 crew trying to get this thing done in a very aggressive schedule to get it done in spring of 2021 and earlier if we can. So hopefully that was informative on how we move through the schedule. 30,000 foot view.
As we have more details as the construction progresses and we get closer to doing each segment, we will definitely keep the community in the know. We'll say we're about to start on your section, and that's why I'm going to pass it off to Ron Hand now. He's our public involvement coordinator with DOWL, and he's really going to be the face of the project. He's going to be meeting with you. He's going to be our liaison to talk to the public, and so he can talk a little bit about their plan to help us through this project.
Very good, thank you. Well, the good news is that I've met many of you before, and I recognize part of the SEI when it went in. And personally, I'm thrilled that Taylor Northwest is back on the team and going to be doing the digging. They take a lot of pressure off of my job, actually, because they are so good at communicating with the people on the streets as they move down the street. So I'm thrilled for that. I'm glad to see you guys back. So where do we go from here? My job is to keep you all informed as to what's going on. One thing I want to really encourage you tonight is to make sure that we have your email addresses, because once we get this project going, we will send out weekly emails. And I think that you can attest that's about how well the weekly emails go. They keep you informed. They'll let you know when we're going to come past your house, what detours might be taking place, whether there's any updates in the schedule, and usually those schedule updates say that we're moving along faster than slower, so we like to give those out. So please, I want to encourage you to get your names over here on the email list that we have specific to this project.
This is a different sign-up sheet than the sign-in sheet you did for the old farm district. So if you didn't sign this vertical one, make sure you sign this for these guys.
Perfect. We will continue. Many of you have received what we call the Connection. It's a newsletter that we started putting out when we started out with the Septic to Sewer project. We will continue those every 3 to 4 months, and those will give project overviews. They'll give reminders on, hey, February 1st is coming, get your applications in, all that kind of good news. And then as each project nears construction, and you can flip to the next one for me, we will have separate meetings and start punching the button. I think some more information will come up. So for instance, once we start or get close to starting this first leg of the project, we'll be getting together all the people that front this particular line here. And we'd like to meet outside, although in December, it's not always favorable, but it could be a sunny, balmy day, we would do that. We like to get outside, right? Particularly in this case, we probably go to that intersection right there and get everybody on that orange line there together and say, okay, here we come. This is what's going to happen. This is our schedule. We have all the laterals staked so that you can walk down the street and we say, here's where your service is going. And this is the second to the last chance to really change that location. But we want to also be sure that you're all aware of what that location is. So as we progress, and you can keep on pressing the button, these are the tentatively scheduled times when you will see us out there for a neighborhood meeting. Now, if you're on our email list, you'll get these updates and you'll know exactly the day and the time. When we do this one, for instance, we will walk door to door and make sure that you get a door hanger saying, hey, at 6 o'clock on December 12th, we're going to be out there and we would love to see your smiling faces so we can make sure that we have this all together, okay? So you can see some tentative scheduling there. When we get to 15th Street, we probably won't have a neighborhood meeting because that is such a large project. We'll probably get together with the city, as we do on all our communications, and have them do a news release. And if we feel the need to get together with a neighborhood in that particular project, we probably come back here. But for all intents and purposes, we're done with the big meetings. It's all coming to you in smaller groups from here on out. Go ahead to the last one. Here's some of the things that you're going to be experiencing, and we just want to be upfront and let you know that these things happen. But the first thing I want to point out is the utility conflicts up there. You can see all those different lines going crossways and up and down the street. Those are water lines, they're gas lines, they're power lines, they're communication lines. This is why we can't just dig and go, because these things happen every 100 feet. And so we have to be cautious of those things. We can't be bumping people's power out and those kind of things. We're very careful. They're all theoretically located with the utility company and coordinated. So that's why I just wanted to show you one of the things why it takes so much time. You'll experience narrow travel lanes where the construction is happening maybe not right in the center of the road, and you will be able to go pass by. In other cases, you won't. You'll have to take detours. You'll see conditions like this where we're ready to pave, but we're not going to go by your driveway and pave 20 feet at a time and then dig a little more and pave again. These paving segments are longer. They're 500 feet, there's 1,000 feet, they're 1,200 feet at a time. So you may be traveling in these conditions for a while until the paving crew comes along, and then you know what it looks like. It looks real good again, right? We use erosion control measures. We use, as Justin alluded to, we have crews out there ahead of crews. Sometimes they're just digging ahead so that when the actual construction comes, they can just redig and lay the pipe. And then the last thing I want to call attention to is there may be segments where we actually have the ability to blast instead of dig. Now, blasting shakes things up a little bit. In those situations, you would get a pre-blasting notice. We've offered pre-blasting exterior of the house inspections to make sure that everything comes back, everything that, after the dust settles, rather, that everything's looking the same as it did. So if there is going to be blasting in your neighborhood, you'll know well in advance of that happening. One more slide, please. So here are the resources that you have available to you to stay in touch with us. There's the Desertwood Project Hotline. There's websites, Lindsay's and my email addresses. If you need to get more information on plumbing permits and how to get connected, you want to go down to community development. And if you want information on treatment systems and on your current septic systems, then you go to the county. So also over here we have business cards made up that include Lindsay's and myself's contact information. It has the project hotline. We also have a stack of refrigerator magnets over there, so if you want to think about us daily, you can slap us on the fridge and at the same time have that information. So with that, I know that we're over, but does anybody have any final questions on what's happening out there and when we can get going?
I'm not on that map.
You're not on that
No,
map?
on 27th South.
Correct.
Yeah.
27th south
Yeah.
of Reed Market. So we're not there yet.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
that's the simple answer.
So if you blast and you then see some problem with the house, then what?
We've never experienced that. We have professional blasters out there and we're not anticipating seeing that. There are forms to fill out, etc., but I don't even want to go down that road because we're not going to go there. Yes?
You mentioned you didn't have applications for like Admiral Way. What happens if you don't get any?
So she asked, what if we don't get any applications in February? For Admiral Way specifically.
Or what, that isn't on that plan right now.
So I just want to say that I have been meeting with groups citywide, and I already have at least one application submitted, so we will have at least one to evaluate in February. If we get to a point where we have more funding available than we have applications coming in, we would reevaluate the program with the city council to understand if it's now going to be a city directive to start putting lines in where we think they're needed most.
I want to back up to, you were talking about remodeling and having to go and hook up. Go ahead. So is that just going to be remodel projects that increase the water going out of your house? Or like, are we going to be able to add a garage and that kind of stuff, or would that still disqualify?
So the question was, what is the limit of doing a remodel to trigger you to connect to public sewer? And is it related to how many bathrooms or sinks that you have or water that you use? The way the code is written right now, it's tied to our development code. So if you're planning on doing a remodel, I would urge you to go to the community development department. There's a permit center, you can talk to a planner face-to-face, and you will have to determine if you're triggering minimum development standards which again would be triggered at 50% or more. So if you're remodeling 50% of your existing square footage or more, that would count. But if you're not, it's not tied to number of fixtures, it's tied to the level of development you're doing. And it's a little complicated to explain without knowing the development code back, like the back of your hand, but it is tied to our code. And I do want to say, we did go to council this week on Wednesday, and we do have some proposed code changes coming forth. And those are, we just went to council to get some feedback direction, and so those aren't even to council to approve yet, but that will be coming in December. We'll have a meeting with council on December 18th, and then again on January 15th. So if you're interested in what those code changes are, that presentation is on the website. You can review it and please ask me any questions about it. But we will be going to council, and you are welcome to attend those meetings and find out more about those changes.
Lindsay, are you open to doing maybe little neighborhood meetings instead? Well, I know that one of our neighbors is trying to get our part of the street. I know that one street over, some of the neighbors are trying to get theirs, and then up further ahead of our house, they're trying to walk the neighborhood. So would it seem easier or maybe more helpful if, you know, you go, okay, well, it seems like all these people are connecting. I just heard through the grapevine. And so if you send out a notice or something, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Like I said, it is really time consuming to go door to door. And you can imagine on Greenmont, there were about 60 homes. It takes a long time. We had 2 people helping on that.
It'll be
But yes,
less
I am.
expensive if we all go at the same time, right?
The construction project going at the same time, that's a possibility, but again, we have limited funding. We have $2.5 million per year, and it's possible that we can group it and roll funding over to make a bigger project. But we'd have to talk about that as a group with whoever you're interested in getting that going. But to talk a little bit about getting those signatures, I am available, and to give you an example, I met with someone on a street off of Brookswood. I went to their home. All of the property owners along that cul-de-sac came to this one person's house. We had a little meeting in their living room, and we discussed it all at once. So it was a little bit easier to get everyone in one room rather than that person having to go door to door. And that was much quicker. I was able to answer the questions, and I'm more than happy to do that, to set up a tent. We can do it outside, whatever's easiest for everybody who's interested.
Maybe her question about discount is on the homeowner side. So once the line goes in, if there are several people on your street that want to go together
Yep.
and contract whoever's putting in your home lines into it, you'll most likely get a discount.
So you're talking about getting a private contractor, a private plumber or excavator to do a group discount if you are using the same person, hiring the same person to do the work for maybe 20 homes or so. And some of you may be familiar with that because Beth Larson spearheaded that for the Southeast Interceptor in her neighborhood. And that was a very difficult process for her. And thank you for doing that because you saved a lot of people money, and really she took on a lot to do that. So if that's going to happen for future phases, someone's going to have to volunteer and try to help your neighbors out and do that together, because the city unfortunately can't get involved with your private on-site hookups because we can't operate on private property. We can only be in the public right away.
Liz, can you just explain also that the Desert Woods project is how many millions, and what you're talking about going forward is only 2.5, so it's a very small section.
Yeah, so the map where you saw, all the red lines showing the extent of this construction project, this is the first phase of this program. So council gave us an extra $10 million to kickstart this program. And again, this is benefiting about 145 homes. The construction's estimated to cost about $10.1 million. So you can imagine moving forward, if we only have $2.5 million, the projects moving forward are going to be much smaller. So again, back to your question, if you could group them together, it's a possibility, but we have to discuss it, and we have to talk to the committee about that, and rolling funding over maybe year to year.
Hi, Lindsay, I have a question about timeline here. The project starts in December, and it says these fees are valid through this June, next June. So
Yeah,
So is anyone realistically connecting before June?
no one, well, sorry, excuse me, let me rephrase that. So it's possible that you can connect sooner than June because, can you go back to the slide where it's showing all the segments? As Taylor Northwest moves through construction, it's possible that we can let some sections go sooner, connect sooner, because if they're here and here, this is downstream from everything up here, so it's not dependent on construction to the west. So we could potentially say, this part's gonna go sooner, we're gonna let these people connect while we're still constructing down further. And we don't have exactly those details of what pieces we're gonna release at what time. But to go back to your question, yeah, those fees are through June 30th, 2020, because that's when our fiscal year ends, and then we adjust them for inflation. So if you connect after July 1st, 2020, you can anticipate that that fee will be a little bit higher. And I can comment on at least the connection fee. That did not go up this last fiscal year because we knew no one was connecting, because we wanted to just keep it at 8,500 and we were able to do that. So it's possible that it may not increase this next fiscal year, but I can't guarantee that. That's a finance decision.
So the fiscal year ends in June, when you find out the new fees.
You would find out, July 1st. Usually they have something somewhat available right before, but they get adopted July 1st.
Ask you, when are you going to be going down 27th Street? Because there's at least 150 houses and they're only there.
Okay, so the question was, when are you going to go down 27th Street? And again, I want to reiterate that we are not voluntarily putting sewer mains in from this program until we receive an application. So you would need to get with your neighbors, put some petition signatures together, come talk to me and I can try to help you. Depending on where it is on 27th, that is a major arterial road. And usually we save those for our big trunk mains, something similar to the Southeast Interceptor project where it was 30 inches wide versus these pipes we're talking about are 8 inches wide. So there may be some other answer there that's not with this program, but I'm happy to help you take a look at that specific area.
Hi, is that on? Yeah, okay, so, question, I'm trying to get my head around the timing. My name is Brandon, who live in the Fargo end of things, so it'll be a while, I think, before you'll be there. But when the extender lines are put in, is there opportunity to connect right as the extender is there while the hole is open, or do we have to wait until you're past us, reopen the hole and connect?
You will have to wait until we will be beyond that most likely, because we have to come back and pave it. We have to finish the construction of that segment before we will issue any notice of operational completion. And again, you'll have to wait till you get that letter in the mail, and that will be your notification that you can now connect.
So we have to rip up what you've just made very perfect and great.
No, because we're gonna take it to the limit of the property line, so
Okay.
where the right of way ends,
Gotcha.
and then you're gonna be making the hole on your private property, so it shouldn't make it too much of a difference.
Okay. There's a couple other related questions then. Does the city provide a list of contractors that are approved to do this kind of work that they will sort of not recommend but know that are qualified and suitable
So,
on the private property side?
yeah, so you're asking if there's a plumber, or a list of plumbers or excavators that can do this work on your private property. And the answer is no, because the city can't, we can't suggest anybody because it can look like favoritism. However, you should be able to call any local plumber or excavator and ask them if they're able to do this type of work, and most of them will be. And some of this work you can even do as the property owner. So I suggest you reach out to the building department, the community development department at the city to ask specific questions about that.
We're really left to flounder on our own without any guidance.
We can help you out.
And the last question I had is, the company doing the extensions, are they also willing and able to do the connections for homeowners?
So the company doing the extension is going to be Taylor Northwest. They're contracted with us only in the public right of way, so.
I mean, are they open and willing to contract with private homeowners to do those connections as well?
Yes.
You shaking his head, yes.
I remember from one of the previous meetings when we were talking about the digging the trench to the connection from the home, that had to be certain grades for the, it's going to be gravity fed. So you were just saying that the homeowner could do some things themselves, I don't know what you were alluding to there, but if it were digging the trench, is there someone in the city, in engineering, or something that then will advise us on the, what is it? The angle, it is an angle, but the drainage.
So, yeah, let me address that.
So that it will have gravity drainage from the home to it, how we would actually dig that trench.
Yeah, you can definitely go talk to the plumbing department at Community Development Department, Permit Center. If you go down there and ask for someone from the building department, a plumber, they can try to help you with that, but again, you would have to be willing to do the digging yourself, laying it out right. It has to be up to grade, or the inspections have to pass.
But there has to be certain specs as to
Yes.
the degree of.
Typically, it's
of drop or
2%,
whatever
it's a
it is.
2% slope on the pipe, and there are, some exceptions around that, and I really want to emphasize here that while we're trying to give everyone a gravity connection, meaning that it will flow with gravity from your house to your property line, we cannot guarantee that. We think the majority of people will, and we've done homework to try to ensure that. However, some sites on this project will be challenging, and some of you may have to get a private on-site pump to push the discharge uphill. So I want to be clear about that, and don't want to guarantee anybody a gravity connection because in reality we don't have funds to do surveying on everybody's private property. We can't do that homework for everybody. That would make the project costs go even more through the roof. So we can't take that on as a city. You have to talk to the plumber and excavator now to try to understand, can you get ahead of it and put that lateral where it's perfect for you, and we can try to get you that gravity connection now and plan for it.
So they will be able to make that determination.
Yeah, I urge you to reach out to a private contractor to help you with that. Mhm. Sorry.
I have just one question, and for the people that are in like King J, which I live on, and the King David and all them, do we need to do anything at this point as far as an application?
Yes.
When do we get assignment? And are you gonna guarantee some of the programming that comes from it?
Okay, so the question was, he lives on King David or King Jehu. If you don't live on a parcel that's touching one of these lines in this map or even beyond, we don't have a planned project for you to get sewer on your street. You would need to submit an application by February 1st for us to get it on the list to start constructing it. And I do want to mention that in the Kings Forest area, the 503 lots we were talking about, we do have design plans for that. They're going to be ready to go. Anybody outside the Kings Forest area, that's a little bit of a different story. We'd have to start from scratch with the design, but we can definitely do it. But I just want to reiterate that yes, if you're not shown on here, if your house isn't touching one of these lines, currently we have no plan to install sewer on your street because we have not received an application from you. So if you're interested, I urge you to, let's meet, we can talk about how we can get that application going for you, and I can help you strategize on how to get your neighbors to sign it.
I have two questions now. When you say the 503 Kings Forest area, are you also including Desert Woods, which is not Kings Forest?
Are you talking about, sorry, can you?
You referenced,
Yeah.
503.
Mm-hmm. So 503 homes, sorry, that's bounded by Reed Market to the north,
Right.
15th to the west, the canal.
Okay. I was just
And then
confused
Ferguson.
because you said Kings Forest area and Desert Woods is not.
So, yeah, I apologize. We call that the Kings Forest Study Area, so that's what we're talking about here.
So speaking of Desert Woods, we don't have fire hydrants. And I brought this issue up with our neighborhood association, and Justin Livingston was looking into it. Where are you guys with that?
So I've spoken with Avion Water. This is an Avion served area, and we brought up the issue with them, and we brought up the opportunity to partner with them, and this would be a good time for them to put those hydrants in because we're ripping up the road. They could stub them in. However, we don't have control over Avion Water because they are a separate private franchise utility, and we did speak with them, and they were looking into it, but it comes down to that they don't have the capital to do that project right now, and it was not on their planned list of projects. However, we're keeping that line of communication open. If they can somehow scramble the money together before this project gets going, we're willing to work with them on the maximum extent for that, because we know it's a public issue, a safety issue.
We should all contact them if we live in that area.
Because the road's gonna be dug up and they need to replace that line. They need to, all the lines in there aren't big enough to
Correct.
put in a fire hydrant. Even
Correct.
if we paid the $5,000 that they want for a fire hydrant, they need to replace those lines. So if we want fire hydrants in our neighborhood, you need to start calling.
Any other questions? Sorry, waiting for the mic. I keep calling people.
I just have a question. I've been on King Solomon Court. Does it mean that even if they finish King Solomon Court, we wouldn't be able to connect right away until another portion is done? Is that right or not?
No, not necessarily. If once we finish construction here, we pave it back. This is completely independent of other parts of the project, so we would likely say, we're done here, we're gonna send you the letter, you can connect now. Yeah.
Hi, I just had a question about the requirements to connect. And first of all, thank you for checking with DEQ and getting that rule updated about 30 foot. This is ridiculous. The statement here that says the property owner applies for development approval and increases septic system capacity requirements as a requirement to hook up. Is that aligned with like 300-foot rule as well? Is that for the properties that are within 300 feet and not adjacent to a sewer? Are we not able to apply for those permits and expand on our dwellings?
So again, that 300-foot rule, right now, the way the code is written, is gone. So it goes back to what I was talking about before. It's linked to the development code, so I'm sorry if that's unclear on the sheet that you have there. If you do a development that triggers minimum development standards review or higher, that would include the remodel of 50% or more, adding an ADU, partitioning, those are just a few examples. That's what's gonna trigger you to connect. So if you're just...
Was there a distance requirement to that, or just?
There's not a distance requirement with that. So what that means is if, say you're even 1,000 feet away from sewer and you want to do something that triggers this level of review or higher, you have to be connected to sewer to do that. So the reason behind that is because we're trying to get people off of septic systems. We're trying to incentivize people to apply to this program to get sewer mains down their road. So that's the reason why we have that requirement in there. And again, I'm going to council, we had some direction, and I'm gonna ask Justin to come up here, but we did have a work session this Wednesday to discuss just that issue because we are finding it is somewhat limiting development, so I'm gonna let Justin talk about that a little bit.
I can talk a little more broadly, and I have a little more latitude. Lindsay has to talk about the things that are currently in the code. As she discussed last night, they came to council for some direction, and they're gonna end up developing some code, and there was direction. There was only 5 of us out of the 7, so we still have the votes to pass it, assuming nothing changes. But basically the direction was, we're gonna kind of put the 300-foot rule back in regards to new development, not anybody with existing. By removing that, it helped the people with existing septic systems, and not having to connect to be able to repair their tank if they were within 300 feet. But what it did is that people that say were outside of 300 feet, there's a property that I know of that's 750 feet. They want to build a house. Well, they have to run a pipe, a sewer line, 750 feet. at an average of $1,000 a foot, that's $750,000. No single house could accommodate for that. It makes that land worthless. And so what our direction was, is if you're going to trigger a partition, or a subdivision, you get into that, you need to connect. We don't want brand new development, we don't want a new neighborhood on septic systems. We're trying to eliminate them. Really what we're looking at for vacant land, we're only looking at about 18 houses right now that this could potentially be a problem for. So we're gonna fix the code a little bit for that. And then in addition to, so if you wanna do an addition or you wanna add ADU, we're gonna say, if your current system has the ability and the capacity to add that and to do those improvements on your existing property, then we don't wanna limit that. We'll let you do that. But if you need to go, upgrade your system, or you need to add a drain field or do a bigger tank, that's probably something that you're gonna need to connect the sewer for, or likely it's probably cost prohibitive to connect the sewer on your own, so you would wanna apply to the program. Or you just wait until the sewer ends up in front of your house to be able to do that. Does that generally answer your question? Right.
So Justin, along that line, what is the criteria? You just said that if you would allow the ADUs if they're septic to handle it, what's the criteria for saying it can handle it?
There's calculations, and so the county would actually determine that. So they know the capacity of the systems, size of tank, your drain field, what's the saturation rates of your drain field, those different things that the county would determine. So because the county is the administrator for DEQ for the septic tanks or the septic system program, they would determine that, not the city of Bend. I just don't want the city of Bend to be a hindrance in that case. And so if somebody has the capacity in their system, why not? Now, the likelihood is that these systems are generally sized and designed for what the existing structure is. And so you might not have that ability, you might not have that capacity in the existing system, but I know there are occasions that it does happen. Other questions?
Good job.
Yeah.